And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee.
Because all the blessings that we're going to get, which is entailing the kingdom of heaven. Isaiah the 60th chapter, I'm going to start at the 10th verse and read on down. It says, and the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. So the sons of strangers, that's talking about the actual strangers, the other nations, shall build up thy walls. We're going to have them in slavery. So they're going to be building the kingdom of heaven, because we're not building nothing. We're not lifting a hand to move nothing. It says, for in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. Therefore thy gates shall be open continually, they shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles. That's talking about the actual Gentiles. We're going to take all of their substance, and that their kings may be brought.
And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee.
For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish, yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted. Verse 13. And the glory of Lebanon shall come unto thee, the fir tree, the pine tree, the box together to beautify the place of my sanctuary, and I will make the place of my feet glorious. So the land of Israel, the land of Jerusalem, is going to be made glorious. It's going to be made glorious once again. The kingdom is going to be built up. We had a taste of that during the time of Solomon's reign, which was for about 40 years. Verse 14, the sons also of them that afflicted thee shall come bending unto thee, and they that despise thee shall bow themselves down at the soles of thy feet. And they shall call thee the city of the Lord, the word Zion means monument, the monument of the Holy One of Israel. Whereas thou hast been forsaken and hated, so that no man went through thee, I will make thee an eternal excellency, a joy of many generations. Thou shalt also suck the milk of the Gentiles, and shalt suck the breasts of kings, meaning we're going to take all their substance. And thou shalt know that I am the Lord thy power, the Lord and thy Savior and thy Redeemer, the mighty one of Jacob. For brass I will bring thee gold, and for iron I will bring thee silver, and for wood brass, and for stones iron. And I will make thy officers peace, and thine exactors righteousness. Violence shall no more be heard in thy land, wasting nor destruction within thy borders, but thou shalt call thy walls salvation, and thy gates praise. The sun shall no more thy light by day, neither for brightness shall the moon give light unto thee, but the Lord shall be unto thee an everlasting light, and the power of thy glory. The sun shall no more go down, meaning our kingdom is not going to go down. In other words, once we get back in power, we're going to be in power forever. The sun is never going to go down on our kingdom again. The sun is never going to set on our kingdom. We're going to always shine, and we're going to always be in that glory once we get into the kingdom of heaven. There's no more going back into slavery under the other nations. Esau's not going to rise back up and put us in captivity. Ham, Japheth, Ishmael, none of the other nations are going to rise up and take us down ever again. When we get on top this time, we're going to remain on top. Neither shall thy moon withdraw itself, for the Lord shall be thine everlasting light, and the days of thy mourning shall be ended. So no more mourning, no more crying, no more vexation of spirit, no more weeping, no more hopelessness because of the condition that we're in as Israelites right now. Verse 21, thy people also shall be all righteous, they shall inherit the land forever. The branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified. Verse 22, a little one shall become 1,000. This is in the kingdom. So what is this talking about? We're going to have sex. Again, like I said, The 2/3 that are going to pass in this destruction, the 2/3 are going to come back through the 1/3 that make it. The Lord said, 2/3 shall be cut off and die, and the third will I bring through the fire. It says, a little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. I, the Lord, will hasten it in his time.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Makakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah. All right, and what I want to get into today, this morning, dealing with morning news and prophecy, more war updates, and Esau's global agenda, because as we see that this devil, is organizing these nations, to roll out a completely, new system, one world government, one world currency, right? The digital system, which he wants to, govern, with his AI. He wants to merge people with his technology, okay? So he can have complete and utter control on the whole nother level, okay? This man is attempting to replace, the Most High, okay, with technology, okay? And as all these things are happening, the war drums are beating, okay, as well, okay? Because the Lord is getting ready to close this thing out. Matter of fact, let's start off there. Yahweh Shema Shai is getting ready to bring the rulership of Esau, Edom to a close, and that captivity to a close, man. It's a beautiful thing that the Lord is doing, man. You brothers, all right, you sincere sisters, man. What the Lord is doing is bringing an end, to this rulership of Esau, Edom, okay, and the end of our captivity, which is the beginning of our rulership, man. And we're seeing these things play out real time, man. That's why we have to stay locked into the bigger picture, man. Because the trick of Satan, is to keep us offended, keep us distracted, just as Esau plays on the minds of the unbelievers, to keep them, distracted, divided, all right, confused. Well, Satan, okay, is doing that, is trying to do that amongst the believers, man. So we have to, be mindful of that, man. We have, everything to be thankful about. Nothing to be proud and sad about, man. When you look at what the Lord is doing, on our behalf, man. The Heavenly Father is doing a mighty work, okay, in the earth, man. And we've been blessed to believe. You see, we've been blessed to believe, man. So Satan try to make it seem as if nothing is going our way, but really everything going our way, man. Okay, everything is going our way because our hope is in prophecy being fulfilled. Okay, so it says, this is I'm gonna get this in the KJV. It's the book of 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 7. It says, but the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer. Okay, so the end of all things is at hand. Okay, the end of this man's rulership and his conquest. The scriptures say what? The triumphing of the wicked is short. Okay, the devil has a short triumph, man. Okay, since the Renaissance, since the mid 1400s, early 1400s until now. Okay, when the devil was able to get a foothold back in the earth, the Lord allowed this man to come back into power according to prophecy. because this is when he really fulfilled his blessing under Isaac. Okay, which Isaac gave this nigga what? The fatness of the earth and the sword. Okay, and during the Renaissance is when the devil fully comes into his blessing, but it represents what? The birth, okay, of this man's kingdom. You see, the birth of his blessing. Okay, the Jacob, the actual birth of Jacob and Esau, when you go into the account in Genesis, the 25th chapter, they represent two empires being born in the earth. Okay, with Esau, his empire, being born before Jacob, but then Jacob, his hand held the heel of Esau, showing you that it would transition to the rulership of Jacob, and it will be forever. That's why nothing came after Jacob. You see, the geopolitics of the planet Earth was always centered around these two nationalities of people, Esau and Jacob. Okay, and Esau would rise, okay, to be, the rulers of this age. Okay, and it will usher in the everlasting rulership of Jacob through Yahweh Shai, man. Okay, so the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer, man. Okay, watch unto prayer. Watch. Okay, which is be sober minded. And the watch is to be watchful of the events leading up to the time of the end. Okay, as we're watching, we're watching for prophecy's sake, man, and we're reporting to show where we at in prophecy, man. Let's get this in Hebrews 11 and drive home that point. All right, this is the book of Hebrews, chapter Hebrews 11 and 20 says, by faith Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come. Okay, so Esau and Jacob were both blessed with the fatness of the earth, and Esau, okay, his blessing will be born into the earth first, which you have the Renaissance, which goes into rebirth. Okay, if a brother want to post that definition for Renaissance, all right, which goes into a rebirth. Okay, so this devil's kingdom was birthed in the earth first, according to the blessing he received from Isaac, and that's why he's been able to dominate the earth with the sword. Okay, but then this will usher in the eternal blessing of Jacob. You see, through Yahweh Shai. Okay, so what we're seeing is, the blessing of Esau, okay, come to an end because his blessing was temporary. Okay, and the beginning of the eternal blessing of Jacob, which was given by Isaac, and this going to be Isaac, which if you can receive it is Yahweh Shai, that's going to come, okay, and establish. It's going to end Esau's blessings and establish, okay, the blessing of Jacob. Lord will, we're part of that number. All right. Yep, the brother got brothers got precepts. The water, to you brothers tuning in, adding to the screen, the water for you sincere sisters, tuning in obedience. May we all, be blessed. May we all win. We're here for a victory, man. You see, this is Ecclesiastes 7 and 8. This the brother Yahweh Hopeful Lake 3 says, better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof, and the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit, man. So the better is the end of a thing, better is the end of this man's rulership, which is the end of our captivity. Okay, so we're at the better end of this thing now, man. You see, and it says the patient in spirit, which we're patiently awaiting for these prophecies to come to pass, man. We can't be impulsive, we can't wild out, man. We got to patiently wait for the Lord's prophecy to come to pass, man. We got to continue to scribe lawfully, as the scriptures say, man. We got to continually deal within the order that we was given by Yahweh Shai. Okay, and it wasn't to be militant. It wasn't to try to force anything. It wasn't to try to forward ourselves in this world. Okay, so we gotta move within the parameters set by Yahweh Shai, because he was that example of how we should be. Okay, and it requires patience. Okay, but our patience gonna be rewarded. Okay, and what we're seeing with Esau, this devil, he's moving in a very proud spirit. Okay, and in his mind, he's gonna rewrite prophecy to his liking for his favor, man. With just a very proud spirit to be in, and this spirit is finna be judged. Okay, it's a brother affiliate camp loyal to Yahweh Shai, Job 20:5. It says that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment, man. So this is a moment compared to an eternal righteous kingdom. This little wicked is just a wicked moment in time when you really look at it. Okay, because the scriptures say, that we putting off the mortal and putting on the immortal, and it, of course, that's going to be completely fulfilled when we put off this mortal flesh and we take on these immortal bodies. Okay, but before we put on these immortal bodies, well, we begin to put off this immortal way of thinking and begin to think immortal, man. And when we think immortal, man, this is just a short moment in time, man. Okay, you see, the scripture should have us thinking generational. Okay, this little lifetime, this shit really don't even factor in to the blessing we got coming, the kingdom we got coming. Okay, outside of serving the Lord, edifying, and building up in the spirit, man, nothing else really matters like that, man. Okay, that's all for this age. All this shit gonna be left behind. Certain relationships and job titles and status and your little savings account and your little cute cars and little house and decorations. That's for now. Okay, this just for this little moment. You see, but as we begin to think like immortals, man. Okay, we start to think of the age to come. We start to make preparations for the age to come, and that's what shows true faith. As we begin to disregard this world, and begin to make preparations for the age to come, man. Okay, and if a brother Baba could shop, if I'm not asking too much, let's get this second Ezra 6 and 9 in the GNT. I just like how the GNT worded. Okay, so you go into this, a brother affiliate camp loyal to Yahweh Shai. Second Ezra 6 and 9 said, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, man. Okay, so Esau is the end of this age, man, and we're at this man's end. Okay, and we're seeing the Lord causing moves to be made, putting pieces in place that's going to end this empire. That's going to end the age of Esau, man, and begin the age of Jacob. Okay, this is where we at, man. We got to keep this at the forefront. Why we're here. Why are we here? Okay, we got to throw our emotions out the car. We on the road to victory, man. Okay, you got to throw your emotions and your offenses, all that shit got to be thrown out the car, man. Okay, and we should take on the mindset of a servant. What can we do to help win? Okay, to push forward to the win. Okay, it's about us winning now, man. You see, that should be at the forefront of our mind is the victory, man. You see, what can we do to aid and forward this victory that's promising Yahweh Shai, man? Okay, damn how we feel, damn that, man. Okay, because Satan that's what he play on. So the brother got that definition for Renaissance. It says what? A rebirth, a renewal, a revived resurgence, an awakening, a rejuvenation, a resurrection. So this Renaissance was this double rebirth of the Greco-Roman Empire back into the earth. But now it was in this full totality of that blessing of Isaac. Because when Esau had Rome, he didn't have the full fatness of the earth. Okay, that was a prelude to this time. Okay, when the Greco-Roman Empire will be rebirthed in the earth, through America, NATO, and the EU. Okay, so that's a fulfillment of this time, man. Okay, I think even that word NATO goes into rebirth when you go into it in the Edom online. Okay, NATO goes into rebirth. Okay, uh, uh, it was something else I was just going to look up too, man. Oh yeah, because you go into the word Renaissance and it links with okay, because we know. Let's look this up real quick. Uh, yeah, look this up the other day. Okay, because remember the whole little ordeal with the little chick and the so-called unaliving of this little Edomite chick Renee Good in Minnesota, and it's been ongoing riots and protests since then. Okay, so when you go into the word Renee in the AI overview, it says Renee is a feminine, all right, given name of French and Latin origin, meaning reborn or born again. Okay, and what is this devil? Okay, trying to rebirth again. He's trying to revamp a renaissance, a digital renaissance, man. Okay, he's trying to add another era unto his rulership. Okay, he wants to bless himself within his rulership and rebirth. Okay, another empire, man, a digital empire. Okay, it says it is a popular phonetic spelling. Okay, variant of Rene that gained traction in the mid 20th century, representing renewal, transformation, and spiritual rebirth. Okay, representing renewal, transformation, and spiritual rebirth, man. This is what the devil, okay, is trying to pull off, man. Okay, you see, it says in context, celebrating personal reinvention, man. Okay, so this devil, he's trying to reinvent a digital Greco-Roman Empire. He's trying to take this thing to another notch. Okay, and it's not ordained by Yahweh by Shema Shai, and that's why pieces are being moved to end this man. Okay, so let's go here. The brother, let's go. I think the brother got it. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up this first video, because the stage is being set, all right, for the devil, for his age to end. Okay, we're seeing the stage being set for that. So you go here, let's get this here in the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and 9. It said Esau represents the end of this age, and Jacob represents the beginning of a new age. Okay, Jacob represents the beginning of a new age, man. So Esau the end of this age, man. The age of all right, heathens having authority in the earth, man. Okay, because Yahweh Shai is coming to strip the heathen of all authority and military might, okay, in this third world's war. So this is why we see this war is brewing. Okay, this is why we're seeing moves being made. Okay, these nations are positioning themselves for war. Now, yesterday we went into how Russia, well, the last few days we went into how China has been sending their largest shipments of arms to Iran. Okay, and Russia, supposedly has not only sent, these Russia now has only sent these ship-sinking cruise missiles, supersonic cruise missiles, but also Russia have sent these missiles specifically made for destroying American military bases. Okay, well, we have to understand these nations in their region have positioned themselves to fight against this Babylonian war machine. All right, Babylon the Great America. Okay, this great America war machine is spread throughout the earth. Okay, and what these nations are doing, they have weaponized themselves. All right, the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Shai has put on these nations to weaponize themselves to fight against, okay, this American war machine. Okay, so there's talks that not only do Iran has Navy, sinking missiles, these aircraft carriers, all right, these ships sinking supersonic cruise missiles, but they also have these missiles called the Iskander, okay, which these are hypersonic missiles, okay, built to destroy American military bases, man. Okay, so we're seeing all these moves being made, and it's going to go a step further because the Lord is going to require more than just Russia and Iran to send all this high power, high tech weaponry to Iran. They're going to have to get involved as well. Okay, they're going to have to get directly involved in this war as well. Okay, so this is the buildup we're seeing. And also, these devils are meeting in Davos and discussing, AI going forth and the new plan going forth and all these different things, this digital renaissance, the brother Beyond Yashala put, okay, well, war is being prepared as well. War is being fought in as well, man. Okay, so let's play this.
Fox News confirming at least one aircraft carrier is en route to the Middle East with other military assets from air, land, and sea expected to begin flowing into the region.
Donald Trump has said that a big force, that is a big naval force, is now moving towards Iran.
This at the same time that the United States has begun repositioning a carrier strike group from the South China Sea to the Middle East.
You and I have watched this movie before. Washington moves a carrier, headlines start screaming, and the Gulf suddenly feels like a matchbox with too many hands hovering over the striker. But the reason it keeps happening is deeper than any single crisis. Since the 1979 Iranian Revolution and the break in US-Iranian relations, the relationship has been defined by two competing stories that refuse to reconcile: America's belief that it must police the region's order, and Iran's belief that it must guarantee its sovereignty against a superpower that has repeatedly tried to pressure, isolate, or reshape it. Layer in the long shadow of sanctions the tug of war over Iran's nuclear file, the tanker wars of the 1980s, and the post-2003 security chaos in Iraq, and you get a pattern where military posture becomes a language in itself, especially when diplomacy is frozen or politicized. That is why a carrier...
Traditional dropshipping is dead. What we need to do is register with AutoDS. The quickest, easy...
near Iran is never just a ship. It is a floating sentence written in steel, and it is meant to be read by Tehran, by US allies, by global markets, and by every commander on both sides who understands how quickly miscalculation can escalate. Now, here is the part most people miss when they stare at the flight deck photos. Carriers do not just show up, they move through geography like a storyline, and every choke point, every port call, every day of transit quietly signals intent. Based on the most current reporting and corroborated open source tracking, the carrier being redirected toward the Middle East as tensions spike is the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln, operating with its strike group and carrier Air Wing 9, while on its part, Tehran released a shocking video demonstration of obliterations of US bases and aircraft carriers in the Middle East. I will speak a little more on that as we progress in the video. For now, kindly take a moment to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already. They are all free. Do you think the arrival of the carrier marked the beginning of the war? Let me know what you think in the comments. If we trace the Lincoln's recent path, it reads like a deliberate pivot, not a casual patrol. In mid-November 2025, the Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group conducted a high-profile visit to Guam, a strategic logistics and command hub for US power projection in the Indo-Pacific, and then continued operations across the Western Pacific. By early this month, multiple reports indicated the carrier group was operating in the South China Sea when new tasking pushed it westward toward the Indian Ocean and onward to the US. Central Command Theatre, with ship tracking placing the carrier transiting key sea lanes, including movement through the Strait of Malacca area after a regional port visit. This is why the phrase strike position near Iran matters. It implies not just presence but geometry. The carrier's air wing becomes relevant when it can generate sorties quickly enough with refueling and electronic warfare support to sustain pressure across multiple axes without giving the defender time to reset. That is the American theory of the.
So what we're seeing is, America posturing itself, as if it's in a position of striking. Because once that aircraft carrier gets within, a certain range of Iran, it will be able to carry out strikes. So they're just tracking, this aircraft carrier, this strike group, this naval strike group, and how it's been moving. And now it's moving towards putting itself in position. Now this could be political. Just a show of strength, and this nigga, in America just bluffing, just trying to see, because it's always multiple reasons that they're doing a particular thing. And Trump is going to use this for sure as a show of force. He beats his chest about every goddamn thing. Okay. So, this could be a political move, to a show of force. Okay. As a lot of people saying America, back down, from their strike. Okay, it looked weak on America, so this could just be a show of force. Okay, political move, or these devils, eventually, go with the strike, because we know eventually they got to do it. It has to be
case. But here is where my view.
We know it has to be done. Okay, we just don't know the when, but we're seeing things being put in position, and this just puts things a step closer, to this direct conflict that eventually got to happen. And even when this conflict happened, we can see, some exchanges, just to both sides kind of see where each other at, feel each other out, and then they can go back to their respective corners again. So that's a possibility, and it's just me speculating as a man. Because we know other prophecies have to be fulfilled, before this thing, spirals into a full-blown war that's going to go nuclear. But what we're seeing is these nations posturing up, just like two heavyweight boxers. They're just walking around each other in the ring. They might throw a little punch out just to see, how this nigga moving. They might lock up a little bit, just to kind of trying to feel each other power, and then they, it might not be a lot of things thrown. They might go back to their corners, but that 12-day war, and the small hats and Iran, they locked up. They threw a few, both sides threw, some damage. And the small hats left with a bloody nose. Iran, they both. Left, with a few bruises from that. With, the small hats getting the worst end of it. But they both left, with a few wounds. They locked up for a minute. So it's just interesting to see these things, these moves being made, so we'll see. I'm gonna play a little more of this.
And frankly, Tehran's view is far more grounded than the hype. A carrier is also a giant, high-value target that cannot hide its physics. It must
see them aircraft carriers. Now, as military technology is different, and what Iran, is being armed with, these aircraft carriers, which used to be, okay, these things are very fearful. One of these pulled up in your vicinity, okay, it can get bad quick for you. And these nations had no response for it. Okay, but now the Lord has raised these nations up to where there's a response to these aircraft carriers now. Okay, they don't just have, the go ahead. Okay, they're not operating with impunity, which means fear from repercussions. When you're operating with impunity, it means you're operating from a stance that there's no repercussions for what you're going to do. Okay, well, they can't operate with impunity anymore because there's different weaponry that has been introduced to the battlefield now. Okay, so it's going to get interesting, man, as this thing goes on. All right, to see these exchanges, man. This is the new, like I used to be a sports fanatic, but this is my new sports now. I would rather watch this than the NFL game. Okay, so let's play this.
Operate within certain ranges to generate meaningful strike tempo. It needs predictable patterns for flight operations, and it depends on a web of logistics that stretches back to friendly ports, oilers, and regional bases. Against a peer navy, that is dangerous. Against Iran's style of warfare, it becomes something else. It becomes a magnet in a battle space Iran has shaped for decades, a battle space built around saturation, ambiguity, and layered coastal denial. A carrier is enormous, and its escort formation is not invisible. Even if transponders go dark, the ocean is not empty. Satellites, maritime patrol aircraft, commercial imagery, and regional surveillance all exist. Iran does not need to win by sinking a carrier to impose strategic pain. It only needs to convince US planners that the probability of a mission kill, severe damage, or politically intolerable losses is non-trivial. That is how deterrence works in the real world, not by Hollywood certainty, but by credible risk. Now look at what Iran brings to that risk
See,
equation.
these nations allow, because you'll wonder, well, why do these nations allow, it to be known, what weapons, that they're putting in place, because they want to create deterrence, So these nations, Russia, Iran, they let it be known certain, they don't let, you never know everything when it comes to, strategic, all right, intel with these nations. But they allow certain things to hit the news because they want to create deterrence. Okay, because they know America, everybody know what America gonna do. So Russia and Iran allows, the media to know that we putting these supersonic, all right, cruise missiles that's capable of sinking aircraft carriers. We putting these in Iran. We put these Iskander hypersonic missiles that's, that has the range to touch all these different military bases, okay, throughout the region. So they letting it be known, and they talking to the West like, look, you're not gonna be able to operate with impunity, okay? Like whatever you think you finna do, we got a response, okay? So now America has to factor this in. You can't not factor that in. Once you know this intel, now you have to factor that in, okay? So they allow, certain information to get to the news because this is how these nations talk to each other without talking to each other. Okay, when it comes to war, this is just a chess game, psychological, chess game is going on amongst these nations. Okay, because they want to create deterrence. You see, because remember they're not trying to just go to all-out war. Okay, but the Lord gonna make them. As the brother got this precept, this is the brother Yaqub, Hopeful Elect 3, Proverbs 21:1. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, as the rivers of the water. He turneth it whithersoever he will. So it's the Lord that's determining how these nations move, when to move, and how they're moving. And eventually they're gonna lock up for war, man. Okay. Well, right now we just seen them, fill each other out, in the ring. Okay. This is what we're seeing. So let's play a little more.
Iran has long invested in anti-ship cruise missiles and anti-ship ballistic missiles designed for coastal defense, often emphasizing mobility, dispersal, and the ability to fire from multiple points along the coastline and from islands. Systems frequently discussed in open reporting include missiles like Khalij-Fars, an anti-ship ballistic missile concept associated with a maneuvering re-entry vehicle approach, and cruise missile families often linked to coastal strike roles. The key is not one named missile, it is the concept of layered salvos, a mix of trajectories and seeker types designed to overwhelm defenses that must make split-second decisions under electronic attack. Then add Iran's drone warfare, which is not about one drone flying heroically at a ship. It is about volume, persistence, and forcing the defender to spend expensive interceptors on cheap expendable targets. Drones can be used for reconnaissance, decoys, and strike roles, and in a maritime environment they can complicate radar pictures and consume attention. Iran's doctrine has consistently signaled that it sees asymmetric tools as equalizers, and it has repeatedly showcased that logic in exercises and media releases tied to deterrence messaging. Ballistic missiles add another layer, not because a carrier is easy to hit, but because the defender must assume that some number of weapons in a large salvo might leak through, especially under jamming, deception, and saturation. Iran's medium-range ballistic missile inventory, including solid fuel systems like Sejul that are often cited as part of its longer-range deterrent, matters here because it expands the set of regional launch options and complicates preemption. And when Iran speaks about newer missile developments, including claims of hypersonic capabilities such as the Fatah announcement, the strategic purpose is clear. It is trying to convince opponents that interception is becoming harder, not easier. Under the water, Iran's naval approach is not built around matching US carrier submarines in a symmetric duel. It is built around coastal submarines, small craft, and above all the threat of sea mines and choke point disruption. The Strait of Hormuz, the Gulf's geography, and the narrowness of key approaches create an environment where even the fear of mines can slow operations, force rerouting, and consume scarce mine countermeasure resources. That alone affects carrier effectiveness because carrier operations depend on predictable sea room and secure logistics lanes. This is why the carrier, despite its awe, is not a cheat code against Iran. In fact, it can become a test of American political stamina. Carriers are designed for power projection, but they are also political objects, a symbol that can backfire if it is damaged or if its presence triggers the very escalation it was meant to prevent. Iran understands this psychology extremely well, and it has spent decades shaping a deterrent that targets decision-making, not just ships. Air defense is another piece Western commentary often underestimates. Iran's layered air defense includes domestically developed...
So yeah, he goes into, the specifics, of what's happening, but this is what's happening in real time, and I'll put it in the chat for brothers that want to finish watching it, but they just going into the specifics of it, okay, of what's happening in real time. All right, and you just see these nations posturing themselves, man. Okay, and like I said earlier, America, they don't have the privilege of operating with impunity, So when they was doing airstrikes in Afghanistan and Iraq and Syria, well, they had impunity. Okay, and you get this word impunity, it says impunity refers to exemption from punishment, penalty, or negative consequences for wrongful actions, often allowing perpetrators to act without fear or retribution. It is commonly used in contexts of injustice where criminals or officials evade legal consequence, man. So these small hats, they're used to doing all these airstrikes with no penalty, without being punished for it. You see, America, they're used to running these airstrikes, and not being punished for it. There was no recall. You see, so for the longest, America has been operating from the exemption, of any blowback. They could just go do airstrikes and come park those aircrafts back on the aircraft carrier and on to the next. Okay, but now we in a different phase. Now we're in a different time. Okay, and then the impunity is gone. Okay, now these nations can send things back towards their way. Okay, and they can get there quickly. Suits, what they call it, supersonic or hypersonic. Okay, now these nations can respond with supersonic and hypersonic technology, man. Okay, and that's why you had those Gulf Arab states. You know, they were telling Trump like, look, you can't use our airspace like that, man. Like, because these niggas got some shit over there they can send back. Okay, so the impunity aspect is diminishing from American military doctrine. Now they got to consider. Okay, and that's why they had to fall back. Okay, because they don't have that impunity. Okay, that they once had, man. All right, so let's go here. So you have this Davos meeting. Okay, which eventually is just another psyops, to create talking points of confusion. Because these devils, they get together in these councils, and what we see with just these little talking points, man, they're just the tip of the iceberg. These devils are getting together to do rituals and all type of lewdness and sacrifices. Okay, it's a meeting of witches and warlocks, man. Okay, and these little puppet leaders that they put in front of you, man, these are nothing but, lower level magicians. Okay, to enchant the masses with confusion, division, okay, and distractions, man. Okay, so let's play a little bit of this. We'll jump around a little bit in this video dealing with these devils, man. So let's play this.
Because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. Davos 2026 at the World Economic Forum did not leave anything to the imagination when it comes to the building of the New World Order. There are a lot of deceptions going on, including, of course, how Donald Trump has now taken over the World Economic Forum, and Elon Musk is now in attendance at the World Economic Forum. And of course, this has blurred the vision of conservatives in America about what the World Economic Forum actually stands for. Make no mistake about it. The United Nations and the World Economic Forum are the backbone of the New World Order. In fact, they are the New World Order. I'm going to get into the agendas that were discussed, and we're going to start by talking about the deceptions that are taking place, which again has been the theme in Davos for the last couple of years. Rebuilding trust in the future. I've said it once, I'll say it a million more times. They did not expect the pushback that they got from COVID-19 and the vaccines. They had to make a huge pivot. Do not forget who the father of the vaccine actually is. The man who declared himself the father of the vaccine many times over, Donald Trump. And now, of course, we're seeing a pivot away from vaccines. We're seeing a pivot away from the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, and the WHO. And this is all being done by design because they're doing everything they can to build back trust. And now they're doing it to conservatives. It started with the theme of rebuilding trust in the future. And of course, what happened from there is that they had to remove people like Klaus Schwab from being the face of the World Economic Forum because they didn't expect Klaus Schwab to become a household name. They didn't expect all the memes of Klaus Schwab being Dr. Evil or one of the most wicked people alive. So, of course, they've pivoted. And who did they pivot to? Well, after they had Klaus Schwab step down, they pivoted possibly to the only person I could think of who's actually worse than Klaus Schwab, and that's Larry Fink of BlackRock. And, of course, Larry Fink opened up the meeting, as you can see here, doing the triangle of power with his hands, talking about how important it is for all of these global elites to build back trust.
We believe that outside the United Nations, this is the largest gathering of global leadership of the post-COVID period of time. For many people, this meeting feels out of step with the moment We hear all about the elites. And how does that play out in an age of populism? How does an established institution make a difference in an era of deep institutional mistrust? And there's some truth to the critique. I believe in this forum for a long time. I certainly wouldn't be leading this if I didn't believe that we can change and make the world better. But it's also obvious that the world now places far less trust in us to help shape what comes next. If the World Economic Forum is going to be useful going forward, it has to regain that trust.
And of course, it continues to be the theme even in 2026, building back trust. Well, who are they going to build back trust with? Well, they're going to use a lot of deceptions, including Donald Trump, because they're openly talking about Donald Trump being a threat to the world order. And what they're doing with Trump is they're having him and RFK and all these guys talk about things that we would all talk about, because more and more people have woken up to geoengineering and chemtrails, and even Donald Trump made mention of this at the World Economic Forum. This is a building back trust mechanism that he is using. He's pivoted away. He hasn't mentioned vaccines anymore, even though for a couple of years after COVID, he still was talking about his greatest creation being the COVID vaccine, which we know killed many, many people, millions of people who got permanent neurological damage, heart problems from the vaccine. Well, here's Trump casually mentioning chemtrails at the World Economic Forum. And again, this is a deception to build back trust.
Wars are the worst of all. Wars are worse than anything. But we can stop wars because that's sort of up to us. But things like dust flying in the air, wherever COVID comes from. But things like dust flying in the air, wherever COVID comes from.
So when people see that, they're saying to themselves, well, Donald Trump is exposing chemtrails. But the reality of the matter is RFK has already come out and talked about DARPA spraying chemtrails. So why wouldn't the president of the United States ban chemtrails? We've heard states like Florida banning chemtrails, which is a lie, because people continue to report on chemtrails in Florida and Tennessee because they haven't banned anything. And if Donald Trump wanted to ban chemtrails or he wanted to prevent people from getting sick, he would tear down all those 5G towers as well. But we know that that's never happening. In fact, as I've covered this year, Donald Trump is moving as fast as he can into bringing in 6G technology. So that's a building back trust mechanism, bringing up something like chemtrails, because it would make people like us go, oh, he mentioned chemtrails, but he doesn't do anything about it, just like RFK doesn't do anything about it. Then he announces that the U.S. is leaving the World Health Organization, another build back trust mechanism. And then on top of all of that, he announces the Board of Peace. Trump at Davos marks the start of a new era in world affairs. It's almost as if they are pivoting from calling the New World Order, and they're rebranding it as the Board of Peace. Here's Donald Trump and the Board of Peace being announced in Davos.
Congratulations, President Trump. The charter is now in full force, and the Board of Peace is now an official international organization.
So again, the first thing most of us think of is 1 Thessalonians.
So yeah, man, just as you can see, you know, the devil, he's trying to build back trust. You know, he's trying to rebrand, you know, the WF. He's trying to rebrand the New World Order, because this devil is being confounded, man. Okay, we have to remember this devil is confounded. Okay, this devil, he's done. Esau is finished, man. Okay, so what we're seeing, this man is riding on fumes. Okay, and the Lord is breaking this man's ability, and power. You see, it doesn't have the effect that it once had. Now, in the simple, you're always going to have a population of the simple that's going to believe every word. Okay, goddamn idiots, man, especially over here in America. Okay, you're going to have, you know, these simpletons whom The Lord has allowed, Esau, Edom to just destroy their psyche and their ability to think logical. So you're always going to have that, population that's going to believe everything this nigga says, man. As they're being led into this new world order. But then what's happening, this word is bringing this place down, man. Remember, Yahweh Shai said, with the faith of a mustard seed, we will move a mountain, man. Okay? So preaching this word in faith, okay, is moving the government, man. Okay? To where these devils have to pivot, 2020, he was able to make, progress with his new world order, but he wasn't to do everything he wanted. Okay, to where he has to pivot, try to rebrand, try to gain back trust, and because he's losing, man, the Lord is stripping this man. Okay, so when you go 2 Corinthians 10:4, and it says, we use the Most High, it's like we use, matter of fact, I'm starting at 3. It says, 2 Corinthians 10:3, it says, we are human, but we do not wage war as humans do. Okay. So the front line that Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai has us on is the front line of a spiritual war. Okay? So we don't wage war, okay, according to the flesh, taking up arms and trying to do coups and all this, being militant. Okay? No, the Lord didn't give us the green light to do that. No, but we have the green light to wage a spiritual war on this devil. Okay? Through the teaching of this word. Okay, this is similar to us blowing the trumpets in Jericho, marching around Jericho, and those priests blowing the trumpets, man. Well, this is a similar strategy, man, because we're blowing the trumpet, which is this word, okay, and it's encircling this man's kingdom, okay. And it says 2 Corinthians 10:4 said, we use the Most High's mighty weapons, not worldly weapons, to knock down the strongholds of human reasoning and to destroy false arguments, man. Okay? And to destroy false arguments. You see? So this devil, he has to rebrand and try to build back trust. He's trying to pivot. Okay? Now instead of the New World Order, you got the Board of Peace. And okay? They had to remove Klaus Schwab. That nigga, was bad for business. Okay? Put up a new CEO of the WEF and all these different things that this devil has going on, man. This devil, okay, he's getting ready to lose, man, because this word is consuming this devil, as the scriptures say. Okay? And then going from there, let's get this in Isaiah 47. Okay? And this devil in his mind, he had it figured out, man. As this nigga got on the home stretch, the Most High got this nigga catching that cramp. Okay, he been running, and he's been striding, okay, at a comfortable pace all this time, man. He's just been running and striding this comfortable pace. But this word has this nigga to where he had to up his pace, man. Okay, and we seeing this nigga pulling that hamstring, man. You see, Yahweh Shai put pressure on this nigga, man. You see, this is not a light thing that we're doing, brothers. Okay, we have to understand, man, this is not a light thing, man. The Lord's power is coming through the preaching of his word, man. And it's making this nigga have to up the tempo. And this nigga, he getting wore out. He can't keep up with the pace of prophecy anymore, man. That's why you see the devil like he's playing whack-a-mole throughout the earth, man. He's right here for a moment. He's on this, he's on that. You got Venezuela, Iran, Davos, ICE, Minneapolis, now ICE in Maine, the Somalians. Okay, this nigga trying to play whack-a-mole, man. He's trying to create problems and solve them. Okay, he's trying to be the hero, the victim, but then now he's been looked at as a villain, so he got to try to fix that. Okay, the small hats from bought TikTok. You see, so the prophecy is controlling the tempo, and this nigga can't keep up. Okay, Yahweh Shema Al-Shai is controlling the tempo, and this nigga can't keep up, man. He's not built for this home stretch, man. Okay, this is what we're seeing happening. All right. So you go to Isaiah 47:10, it says, "For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee, and thou hast said in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. Therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it riseth." Okay, and mischief shall fall upon thee, and thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou should not know. So this devil has trusted in his wickedness. In his mind, he was on the level with the Most High. He was above judgment. He had it all figured out because wickedness has been working for this nigga for so long. But now he ain't got that first step like he used to. Okay, and prophecy is on this nigga like a full court press, man. Okay, it's hard for this nigga to get the ball in bounds, man. Okay, prophecy is on this nigga, man. Okay, how them young niggas be doing, them little DBs, they be putting the seatbelt scrap. You know, prophecy is scrapping this nigga down, man, to where he can't get free like he used to, man. Okay, he used to have free range in the earth and wickedness, man. Now he's been met with opposition, man. Okay, and now the Lord is preparing this nigga's downfall, and he's so busy trying to keep up in this current system and switch over and trying to have a transition to where, because he got to unhook this old world and plug up the new one. Okay, so he's trying to smoothly do that as smooth as possible, but this nigga is coming into all these obstacles, man. Okay, and these Davos meetings is nothing but, like I say, a meeting of these warlocks, man. These warlocks, they're getting together and they doing these sacrifices, and a lot of these children that go missing, you best believe it's a lot of them just got sacrificed in Davos, man. Okay, you best believe a lot of these, these children that go missing, man, they got put on them altars in Davos, man. Okay, this devil trying to get a blessing from Satan. Okay, so what are we seeing this devil doing? He trying to stand. Okay, the scripture says, stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit. If so be thou mayest be able, all right, that thou mayest prevail. It's the Most High making mockery of this nigga, man. Okay, the Most High is making mockery of these devils, man. I never forget the dream that the beloved elder brother Ariana Sa out in GMS Dallas, he made the point, okay, about how he made the point about his wife had a dream, and these elites were just frantically running through the mansion, the castle, and they were just doing sacrifices and doing seances and incantations, and they were trying to get a response from the left-hand side, and they weren't getting no response, man. Okay. So because these devils operate on the instructions that they get from the left-hand side. And all the instructions from the left is leading this nigga to fulfill the Most High's will on the right-hand side. Okay? So this devil, he was always set up from failure from the beginning, man. Okay? You damn Edomites, man. You dumb, stupid Edomites, man. Okay? You worship Satan, and Satan answers to the Most High. But this nigga is supposed to be against the Most High, man. How dumb can you Edomites be, man? Okay? But you claim this high IQ, man. You dumb, stupid Edomites, man. Okay? You're doing exactly what the Lord wants you niggas to do, man. Okay? On the left hand, which is leading to your end. Okay? Isaiah 47:13 said, thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from the things that shall come upon thee. And all these, all right, you best believe this Davos, all these stargazers and astrologers and prognosticators, nigga was there. Okay? I think that little chick, that little witch, that little famous Hollywood witch, I forgot her name, is it some Bramovich? The brothers are familiar with. Okay. I forgot her name. I believe Eliasha Wumble posted a video. She was there. Oh boy, this nigga desperate, man. It's a beautiful feeling to see the opposition be desperate, man. That means they losing. Nigga brought the Panthers back, man. The Black Panthers, man. You know? Nigga brought back the Black Panthers, man. The Berets, man. The Black Berets. Okay? Desperation, man. Isaiah 47:14 said, Behold, they shall be stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. There shall not be a coal to warm, nor a fire to sit before. Okay? It says, Thus shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast labored, even the merchants from thy youth. They shall wander every one to his quarter, none shall save them, man. So this place is gonna go up in flames, literally, man. America gonna be a desert. Okay, Yahushua coming with the chariots and the heavenly hosts to destroy the militaries of the earth, man, and all this, BS that this devil, okay, thinks that he's gonna establish. Okay, he's gonna be through. Yeah, the water, brother. That's why gotta love the brotherhood, man, brothers. See, that's why amongst all this information, the Lord got amongst the body, man. Okay, you gotta love brothers. They be on it. Yeah, Marina, Abramovich. Yeah, that's the name. And she's the one that said, Trump, he's a witch of chaos. That they need to get to the next phase. Okay, and we seen that playing out because Trump is leading you to the next phase, which is your destruction and captivity. Okay, so let me see if I can find anything with this little chick being Marina Abramovich. Okay, let's go. Let me see. So let's see. Yep, let's go here real quick. The brother's been playing this. But yeah, man, you devil trying to stand with their enchantments, but they're gonna lose, man. Okay, niggas put Deacon Hakai. They got this nigga, this hard, tough nigga. Okay, Deacon Hakai, they got this nigga in the Sunday, a Sunday school attire. Okay, nigga desperate, man. This nigga turned Deacon Hakai to a vacation Bible school teacher, man. Okay, this nigga pulling out all stops, man. And I've been hearing brothers talk about the switch up from from Deacon Hakai, man. But I don't follow them guys. But brother got any footage on that, put it in the comment, But yeah, look at it. Listen to this.
Seclusion and do the how how their life is conducted or what they're in support of.
I just to share with you one really funny opinion. But there is in Lapland there is a group of the shamans there who do something called collective dreaming. They will go together in seclusion and do the rituals with eating very little food and being in a solitude for a long time, and they will go and dream the dreams, and the dream have to be collective same dream. So coming out of this dream, the shaman told me that actually the best thing happened in this planet right now is the Trump to be the president. I said, how is this possible? It's the best thing to happen. He said, yes, because he's so irrational, he's so crazy. That's actually create that awakening that we finally wake up. Because before it will be another guy and everything looks similar, but he's so different than anything else. So he's the magician who waking us up. What do you think about that? That kind of theory.
Yep, the Witch of Chaos is supposed to take this thing to the next level. You know, the one and only Donald J. Trump, aka Nero 47, man. Yeah, man. So yeah, that's the point. I leave it there, man. You know, these devils finished, man. Okay, you saw Edom. You know, he's ran his course. You know, this is our last, you know, refining, you know, phase of the sons of God. You know, may we all endure. You know, may we all be perfected this go around to join Yahweh Shai, you know, to be those proven, you know, rightful heirs, okay, of the planet Earth, you know, to rule in righteousness on behalf of the Heavenly Father, man. Okay, the Heavenly Father Yahweh, man. All right. Right. So, yeah, that's the point, Lord will you, brothers. All right, and you sisters edified once again. We want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Makakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to us younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Shalom.